Hi, everyone. We have an exciting panel. Hard to believe, but we're going to talk about games. How many of you play video games or computer games? Not bad. How many of you think that games are going to become the most dominant media of the 21st century? Nice. We have nice numbers. So we have a very diverse panel with very different takes at games for seniors and boomers. And I want to start with a short introduction. I spoke with Sherry, and we decided to choose one particular project that we thought demonstrates the whole idea of breaking the perception of video games. Because I'm doing video games for more than a decade, and 5 years ago, video games were something that you could only think about being played by teenagers, you know, with the pizza box. And in the especially last 2 years with Facebook and iPhone and smartphones, we see a huge change in the perception. And we think about games like we think about movies or books that anyone could play. Games for Change is one of those organizations. We're a nonprofit that this is exactly our mission, to kind of break the perception that games are only entertainment and take them to other places, mainly learning and social change. Mainly the idea that games, just like documentaries or non-fiction books or even graphic novels, could really deal with very serious issues or deal with serious problems. The project that I chose to show, and this is the one I spoke about, it is really the opposite from how we perceive games usually, is called Village of the Birds. It was the award winner of our European festival, the Games for Change festival in France. And it's a very interesting one because it's not only a product, but also based on very robust research. And the research, believe it or not, is coming from first-person shooters, from the most violent games out there, commercial games like Medal of Honor or Call of Duty. And you know, you probably heard about many research and papers and publications that speak about the negative influence of video games. In this case, they took violent video games, but proved that they actually improve cognition, they actually improve the attention areas in the brain, and actually people that played first-person shooters for a long time had much better results with people that don't play those games. What they did is kind of flip the whole model on its head. So the guys that developed it in France, what they did is they created a different kind of a first-person shooter. They took the same idea. The target audience in their case is seniors, many of them that suffer from Alzheimer's and similar conditions. And they said, if it improves conditions, if it's improving cognition for teenagers that play first-person shooters, why not use it with seniors and deal with the similar game mechanics to improve their cognition? And what they did is they replaced the gun with a camera. And the setting is a very peaceful village in the south of France. And the idea is that they need to take pictures of unique types of birds and kind of make their collection. And the team even went another stage and designed a special interface, in this case a special controller that is kind of taking the idea of the Wii remote, but even adjusting it further to be lighter and more intuitive for seniors. So again, this project takes what we know of video games, takes those attributes, flips it on its head, and saying, you know, how can we use it in a very different context? And I think that our panelists today, in their projects, we're going to show you how it's done in different ways. And if anyone is interested to learn more about this project that was created by a consortium of independent developers and researchers, please come to me and I'll give you the details. So we have 3 presentations today. I'll introduce them quickly and they'll kind of come one after the other. The first one is Nancy Shonka Padberg, and she's the CEO of Navigate Boomer Media. It's the largest online boomer media source with 140 websites, and this makes her a perfect speaker candidate to introduce give us an overview of the market and talking about the boomers market at large, focusing on gaming and focusing on women. Then we'll have Fred Howard, the VP of Marketing at KingsIsle Entertainment, and he will talk about a blockbuster game that reaches, called Wizard 101 and reaches 20 million people. And the interesting thing about Wizard 101, that it became the game became very strong in intergenerational gameplay. So families and seniors and kids or grandkids. Randy Paynter, the founder and CEO of Care2, will talk about gamification. Gamification is the new trend in gaming, the whole idea that you take a service that is not a game and you add gaming elements or a gaming layer that turns it into something else. Care2 has 16 million members. It's the largest and fastest growing online community of people making a difference and making impact. And we'll see those that gamification and those gaming elements in one of their services. So thank you very much, everybody, and let's get Nancy on stage. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have that question to ask again. How many of you are playing online games each week? Raise them high. Okay, this is going to tell us a little bit something in a couple more slides, but you probably should look right and left to your neighbor to see who held up their hands. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, let's talk about what games silvers play. First of all, I'd like to give you a visual of what a boomer is. We have vibrant boomers that are great examples for today's demographic. That Bruce Springsteen, 62, vibrant. Look at Madonna at 53. We have someone in business, someone from entertainment, someone from acting, Richard Branson, over 60. So this is what we're talking about. This is what boomers are looking at as their role models when they go out into the world. This group says, why not? Let's look at some facts and stats of boomers. We have talked about today, and you've seen these, 80 million boomers, roughly ages 48 to 66. But if there's anything you take away, these next two stats, boomers hold 70% of the U.S. wealth. 70%. The brands that get to that segment first and win their loyalty will win their pocketbook. They're online 15 hours a week. Teenagers only 13 hours a week. Think about that. They're making more purchases online than Gen X or Gen Y. Why? Because they have the money and they have the access to technology. Women make or influence 80% of the household decisions, not only for their own household, but for their children and for their parents. Women are caregivers, chief home and health officers. When you think about the life issues that boomers are going through, and if you're a brand, you want to think about how can I solve their problem? How can I make their life better? Boomers dominate 94% of all product categories. I don't care if it's cars or coffee. They're buying the most of all categories. Think about health, think about wealth, think about travel. They're the ones purchasing it. And they purchase 80% of luxury travel. Think about cruise lines. They're targeting boomers and seniors. And they purchased 3 out of 5 every new cars in 2010. A staggering number. That is 2010. I don't have the 2011 number yet, but I'm sure it's got to be pretty similar. So we thought we would spice up the afternoon by talking about sex. In advertising, we say sex sells. So now that I have your attention, now look at your neighbors that raised their hand because they're having a better sex life than you are. 64% are over the age of 35. This is from Harris Interactive. This is from an October survey of 2,000 people. 61% play between 8 p.m. and midnight. I'm not sure how that helps your sex life if you're playing between 8 p.m. and midnight, but okay. 86% socialize once per day. 61% play to relieve stress. And remember, this is the woman gamer. She's the caregiver. She's going through a divorce, maybe an empty nest. She needs to relieve some stress, doesn't she? 58% play to alleviate boredom and take a mental break. And 57% have sex once per week versus 52% of non-gamers. So you non-gamers out there, start to play. Do you need a minute for these stats? I don't know, are these available? Yes. They're available, okay.
We will have all the presentations will be on silversummit.com.
silversummit.com. Okay.
Can you explain the connection, or you know?
I will at the end. So one of our site partners, you learned that Navigate Boomer Media has 140 sites. One of our site partners is Winster.com, and they have 500,000 uniques each month playing games. So what I wanted to bring out as their examples that their numbers are in alignment with Harris Interactive. 70% of the players are over 35 or over 45, so more of a boomer and a senior. 80% of the players are women, again in alignment with the Harris study. 57% players are between ages 45 and 64. 83% of players have made at least one friend. 70% of players play more than 1 hour a week. Some are playing 5 hours a week, and about 90% of them are playing from home. So that means only about 10% are playing at work. For the employers out there, that should make you happy. So what does this mean? This means that women that hold the pocketbook and the checkbook and the decision making at home need a little break. They're playing games. You have to look at this psychographics of your target market as well. What are they doing? Where are they online? And I think that these statistics disrupt expectation. And that's why we're here to kind of shake things up with what's going on with your thinking and your marketing and how you target this audience. So the big question that I get asked is, how do sites monetize themselves? How do they create revenue streams? And I call this beyond banners, because there are companies out there where you can place banners. There are websites. But how do you engage that consumer? You want to bring in images and branded content, and that's what we do to help the brand get integrated into the site. So, for instance, here's Tassimo. You'll see images on the site. Another way is a video comes up in between the games, and there's a 97% viewership of that video. So for you to continue to play a game, you have to watch the video. Other ways to package in and monetize a site, it's banner advertising, branded content, video. You put information inside of their e-newsletters and use the social media. So Winster has Facebook and has Twitter. So now you see something come out about Tassimo in their Twitter feed or their Facebook post. You have a full integrated online program that, again, takes you beyond banners. So what we're looking at is a different way to think about this demographic that's playing games from a demographic point of view, but also from a marketing perspective. And there's my contact information. And I'll introduce my next colleague.
Thank you. It's great to be here today. I think it also may be a little surprising, even with that great introduction, to see a representative from a company and from a game that's known as one of the largest online games and properties for kids. And I can tell you, though, that's a misperception, and as they mentioned before, there's a reason that we're up here. But just a little bit of background about Wizard 101. It launched in 2008 in September. We've gone global, so 2011 saw us go across many of the European countries, and we've announced that we'll be launching in China in 2012. Our core audience is indeed the hard-to-reach tween market, but we've engineered the game and actively gone after the adult and the seniors market, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. And part of the way that we've done that is actually focus on a hard story-driven content. So as you play through the game, there's a lot of actual engagement in the property and what you're experiencing. And there's a lot of development and pop culture that's brought into the game. There's a lot of references that the 8- and 9-year-olds don't get that mom or dad or grandparents actually really laugh at. And so the game plays at multiple levels, not only in its skill set, but also in the story base. We've actually had incredible growth. So we've had over 20 million registered players just based off of the US launch alone. Maybe more impressively, we broke into the ComScore's top 200 websites in the US in December of 2010. We're actually about the 170th largest website in the country right now based on unique visitors. And we're seeing about 13 million unique visitors to the site every month. One of the key things that we've really focused on internally is not family friendly. We look at family friendly as something that doesn't offend mom or dad, but they're okay to have in the background. We've focused on is family entertainment. And what that means is we've actually targeted a property that plays at multiple levels, that parents and grandparents are as eager to participate in and play in as the kids are themselves. There's no surprise given some of the other talks here, but the adult female and the baby boomer audience is one of the fastest growing audiences in the gaming space right now. It actually is one of the largest segments, or the fastest growing segments for Wizard 101 as well. There's a lot of key things that you have to develop toward to make this work. Our CEO is a huge believer in easy access and easy navigation. That's critical when you talk about kids. It's also critical when you talk about interacting with an audience that's not particularly computer savvy or is just getting there. That's been a huge focus for us. We've also developed properties that have turn-based combat. So we've eliminated that fast twitch in the gaming space, and we've allowed for multiple age groups to participate in an equal playing field that's brought in a much wider audience. This effort has really paid out. I'm not going to list the awards, but we've won awards for the last 3 years as a top family entertainment game. The thing I would like to point out there is it's not a kids game that we've won the awards on. It's an all ages and family game. So recently, recently we've participated in a study, a major academic study with Trinity University. This was an academic study that worked with Wizard 101 playing volunteers, and they collected data on over 30,000 participants, very anonymous. We take our players' data very, very seriously. But we saw some really fascinating facts, and their first study of many is in for peer review right now, one of which is the majority of kids that play Wizard 101 are actually playing with family members. And a large portion of those are playing with their parents. An actual larger portion of adults that are playing the game are playing with family members, with a big proportion of those playing with their kids. And this is a little bit of a skewed data set. Obviously, we participated Wizard 101 players, but we asked, or not we, but the professors asked, what games or what platforms did parents and adults play on? And they found in descending order Wizard 101, console game, board games, and card games. Now again, the Wizard 101 is not a particular surprise. You're doing a study on Wizard 101 players. But I think what's really interesting is we're seeing a shift in the content and the way that families are playing together. And if you go back 10 or 15 years ago, and obviously much longer, it was board games and card games. And what we're seeing right now is a migration to online games. And one of the things that I think is the critical reason for that is you can play and participate in games together from a vast distance. So grandmother in Florida can participate with grandchildren in Texas who can play with an aunt and uncle in California and share the exact same experience. And that's been a very, very powerful motivator. The study had thousands of responses to the fill in the blank. And I originally was going to read all 1,000 of them, or multiple thousands, but when I was told I only had 6 or 7 minutes, I decided to cut it down just a little bit. And I actually pared it down even further. So I put a few examples up there, but what we saw in the study is there were 3 key themes that came out of the boomer responses in the study. The first one was families connecting together in distances, which I think is a very powerful thing. They talked about it in the presentation before us. You mentioned it as well. Parents and grandparents being able to play together and share experiences across distances is a very powerful motivator. The other is that sense of community. People feeling and wanting to feel like they're a part of a community is a very powerful driver, and they get that in games like Wizard 101, where there's a vast community. They're playing with people, they're interacting with people, and they're building and sharing experiences together. And the last one, which actually was very surprising to me, was a very strong output of health benefits. People stating that they actually feel healthier participating in Wizard 101. They feel better participating in online games. And there's a couple quotes, some were very emotional and very powerful. This ability to feel like they can run with their children again, even though they're confined to a wheelchair. So it was both physical health benefits as well as emotional health benefits that came out of the study. So some really powerful things, and really strong drivers as to why people are participating in games like Wizard 101. Great.
Thanks. All right. Hi, I'm Randy Paynter from Care2. Care2 is an online community. We have 18 million members, growing about 300,000 members a month. We call ourselves a social action network, although you can also think of us as a new media site. We basically help people to live a more healthy, sustainable lifestyle and get involved in good causes. So we say there's a me and a we side of that. So on the me side, we help people to find more balance in their life, reduce stress, eat better, reduce their toxins in their home, and basically live a more sustainable lifestyle. And then on the we side, we help people to take collective action on behalf of about 700 nonprofit partners that we work with. So lots of opportunities to get involved in good causes, whether you're kind of involved in helping to be more sustainable yourself or supporting others in your community. So this is the Care2 website here. And when you go onto the site, you'll find that there are lots of ways to get involved. We have cause blogs, so news and information on human rights, animal welfare, women's rights, children's welfare, healthcare issues, you name it. We're kind of covering those various causes. We also have lots of health and wellness content, so kind of a lot of traditional stories and news and tips on living a more healthy and sustainable lifestyle. We also run something called thepetitionsite.com. It's the largest petition service where you can create your own petition, or you can advocate on behalf of others or some of the nonprofit partners that we work with. And if you go onto our site, you'll find that it's a very engaged community. There's lots of commenting going on, lots of people getting involved in causes and interacting with each other. And there are lots of other ways, actually, I won't go into right now, but lots of other ways that people can take simple actions to feel empowered and realize that there's actually something that anyone can do, everyone can do, to make the world a better place. But the reason I'm here today is actually because we also have a gamification layer that is on top of Care2. So, we are not a game unto ourselves. So like a lot of you out there that might be interested in the topic but aren't actually running a game site or interested in starting a game site, we are leveraging the benefits that you get from putting game mechanics on top of a service. And what it does is really helps to create better engagement and stickiness, basically. And we're finding a lot of benefits, and I will talk about those in a minute. But let me first of all talk about the audience, which is kind of continuing on the theme that you've heard here already. And women, boomer women, are really our primary audience. And there's part of that is because I think the boomer women are most interested in kind of creating more of a legacy, and also, and frankly, seem to care more about a lot of these issues. And in general, actually, women tend to be the leaders in social and environmental cause movements around the world. Women actually vote more, they volunteer more, and they donate more than their male counterparts. And as Nancy mentioned, women also control about 80% of all consumer spending. So as they move their spending more in line with their values, they're forcing consumer brands to take notice and to adjust their product mix to create more natural and sustainable products, and which is why you're seeing kind of this huge growth in this industry, and it's really driven by boomer women primarily. We tend to think about the advocates out there as being the college students or the young folks that are marching the street, but when it comes to shifting consumer brands, it comes down to where's the money, and it's women boomers that are really kind of forcing that issue there. So the gamification layer that we have on Care 2 currently looks like this. And basically what it is you go onto our site and you can take action in a variety of ways and you earn credits, and we call those butterfly credits. And you can take action you can make a comment, you can take our daily action, you can simply visit the site, you can interact with others in a positive way. And all of these things are going to earn you credits that you can then redeem for gifts that make the world a better place. So we have kind of a simple kind of shopping cart model here where you can go and you can buy gifts such as you can plant a tree, or you can help to save a child from dysentery by giving them a saline tablet. And we work with nonprofit organizations to actually make these gifts happen. So they're very altruistic gifts. There's nothing that any individual is actually going to get personally. There's no direct benefit that they're going to get. Although there is certainly there are benefits in terms of their status in their community and the fact that they can feel like they're contributing to the community as well. So we know this actually has a profound impact on on the engagement level of our community as well. So when we introduced Butterfly Rewards, that was in about November of 2009, and you can see that it led to a rapid increase in the number of comments per month on a couple of our blogs here. And we've seen similar kind of trends in other areas of the site. It's really had a very significant impact. And so I would encourage others of you out there who are thinking about who have a product or service that is kind of has a core value, but you need a little extra oomph. And frankly, I think in the future everyone's going to need that little extra oomph because the power of entertainment, the power of some of these game systems are going to pull people away. And there's already a challenge today with especially at media sites where everything is so kind of headline driven. This is kind of an antidote or kind of a way to kind of counter that headline driven challenge that media sites are dealing with. And this creates greater connectivity and loyalty to the site. So another way that we benefit from this gamification layer is by kind of moving in the direction that Nancy was alluding to as well, which is away from display advertising to what we call engagement advertising. We see really this as a big trend. So it's not enough anymore for most advertisers to just have their ad on a page which may or may not be seen. They really want some metrics. They want some engagement. They want to know that someone has actually seen and hopefully interacted with their brand. So this is actually an example of a campaign that we ran for Frito-Lay. And they have a sustainability initiative, and they have a video that they wanted people to see. And you play that video on websites. In general, it's not going to get a lot of people viewing it. But when you add a little bit of an incentive layer on top of that, you can get a lot of folks watching it. And so basically, they would watch the video. Then they would a question would appear, and they had to answer a question about what was going on in the video. So you knew that they were actually paying attention to what was going on in the video. And if they did that, they would receive butterfly credits, which they could then again redeem for gifts that make the world a better place. So the result of that particular campaign was that we had 200,000 people view the campaign, and the brand got a lot of engagement. So, and we've done this for a whole lot of other brands. We have a Toyota campaign right now where it's simply it's an advertisement on our site that you can see that you're going to get butterfly credits for if you click on it. If you click on it, you're actually going to go back to the Toyota site. So there's lots of ways that you can leverage this kind of type of incentive system to get people to engage with the brand. So I think it's a great opportunity for anybody that has a media site or just a website that is relying on advertising or that is looking for better ways to build loyalty with the visitors that are on the site. And I'm going to end it there.
Thank you, Randy. Before we open for questions from the audience, I want to ask you just kind of in a quick answer, if you had one tip, one advice, one insight to share with people that are interested to design products or fund products for this segment, especially in gaming entertainment, what would be that one bit of advice you would give?
Well, you know, I've actually got the microphone in my hand, so I'll take that one first. I guess the one bit of advice I would say is really focus on the core needs of the individual. So there are a lot of gamification platforms out there today that you can kind of install on your site, and you can get badges and all sorts of game mechanics incorporated into your site. And that's great, except for that no one really inherently cares about a badge. They don't want the badge. They want something that is related to the benefit that they get from getting that badge. And they're only going to get that benefit if somebody else knows about the fact that they have that badge. So it actually comes back to kind of social dynamics, I think. And so there's a whole lot of not so great examples out there of people that have implemented badges that are kind of as if people covet a badge. And so I'd say look at the core values and look at an individual's need to connect, an individual's need to feel love and appreciation, an individual's desire to be significant. Or to contribute to community. So go back to those core human needs that we all have and see how you can incorporate game mechanics to support and to give something to that individual that's going to really kind of meet them at the heart, I'd say.
I guess my one thing is that the boomer market specifically in the entertainment space is changing in a very, very rapid pace, and that the market today is very different than it was 6 months ago and is dramatically different than it was 5 years ago. And you really need to take that into account when you look at this space.
I'd say solve a problem. Women boomers especially have so many demands on their time and their energy and their resources that if you can solve a problem for them or enhance their life in some way, they will be brand loyal to you. We work with and have talked with prospects and clients like General Mills and Ford, and these are the kind of conversations that we're having to get that scalability across multiple sites and to reach the boomer women because they know that they are the influencer. So that would be my suggestion, is to try and solve a problem for the boomer woman.
Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Okay. Anyone with a question to the panel?
I have a question about the Wizard game, or the question that's prompted by that. When I play Words with Friends, one of the nice parts about when I play with my daughter, one of the nice parts is that little private email that's built in that she and I can communicate. Or when I play with Alec Baldwin, the same thing. We send the email back and forth. Will Wizards or games like that combine with Skype so that grandparent and child or grandparent and grandchild not only be able to play the game against each other, but communicate to each other as a sidebar at the same time? That would seem to be quite an enhancement to the communication that you're talking about. Is that in the cards? Do you know about that? Is that happening?
It's a great comment. One of the things that, as a game that's designed for all ages, we have to be extremely cautious about is communication and protection of the younger audience playing. That said, we have features already in the game, not with video conferencing, but with chat capabilities, and so families can go in and link themselves together so that a parent and a child or a parent and grandkids and children can communicate directly back and forth through typing the game. So it's not quite to the level of video. The other interesting aspect, and one of the pieces of feedback we get is unlike Words with Friends, which is an asynchronous gameplay. You play, 3 hours later your Alec Baldwin is playing against you. With Wizard, you're actually sharing the same experience. That's a very powerful thing, so that when you're in the game, you're actually seeing the same thing that your child or the grandparent is seeing, and they're participating in the same quest line, and you're communicating directly with that person at the same time. Now, it's via a typed mechanism, so it's not quite as fluid as a verbal communication within the game, but it is a very powerful form of communication.